Dear friend, in 2017, the US military began running highly classified war games that simulated a potential conflict with China. Dozens of simulations were run. But no matter how many times we ran these war games, the result was always the same. We lose. And we don't just lose, we lose fast. The vice chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said it was like they knew exactly what we were going to do before we did it. How is that possible? While we've spent the past 20 years fighting wars in the Middle East, China has spent the past 20 years studying all of our moves. They know how we wage war. They know the weapons we use, and they know exactly how we use them. And they've created a new generation of weapons to exploit our weaknesses. The good news is that's about to change. In 2018, then Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis drafted a top secret plan called Project Overmatch. It says the weapons we have right now were designed to win wars in the 20th century. But to overmatch our opponents in the 21st century, we're going to need 21st century weapons. Now here's what most people don't know. Project Overmatch just received final approval to be implemented in March. That's given the Pentagon an extra $37 billion to spend on adding next generation weapons over the next year. And they've been moving fast. The Army awarded a $2.2 billion contract in June 27th. The Air Force awarded $950 million in contracts on July 1st. The Navy awarded $350 million in contracts on July 19th. At the center of all this spending is a new weapon that's straight out of a sci-fi movie. CBS News reports it's an entirely new type of weapon. The New York Times reports no existing defense can stop it. And the US Army says we're going to make a lot of them very quickly. In a moment, I'm going to take you behind the scenes and share what I know about this new weapon. And I'm going to tell you about the small defense contractor that beat out all the big firms like Lockheed Martin and Boeing to make it for the military. This small contractor reminds me of General Dynamics, which soared 8,990% after inventing the Tomahawk missile for the Navy.
Okay, they tell you to follow the money, don't they? Yes, well, it seems that Australia is spending money that we don't really have. We have a huge housing situation where people can't afford to pay their mortgage. We have a situation where people can't afford to pay their electricity. People can't afford to pay their registration. People can't afford to pay for food. People can't afford to have a cost of living. It's insane. And we are spending $1.7 billion, with a B, billion dollars on 200 Tomahawk missiles, which are the ones that gentleman's just talked about, which are old technology now. We're buying them off America. They're selling them to us for our destroyer boats. How many destroyers do we have? I don't even know if we have one. But maybe America will lend us one of those too, and we can buy it off them. It's insane. $1.7 billion for 200 Tomahawk missile launches. And what will happen? The $1.7 billion that we're giving to America for them will end up in Ukraine. And what will end up with our Tomahawks? Poor America can't give any more military weapons to Ukraine. Australia, you better give them to Ukraine. And our Prime Minister will give them to Ukraine. And us, the taxpayers, will get screwed yet again. So, and I got today, here it is, from Alex Jones. And everyone here in Australia would have got one too. Voting is compulsory, the official referendum booklet. Wow, it's so interesting. I'm going to have good fun reading that tonight. But I'm going to vote no. And I recommend everybody votes no. I'm just going to say no to anything. If the government thinks it's a good idea, I'm going to say no. But anyway, yes, take care, and I'll be back. Bye.
But investors in this small company could make 4 times as much, or 35,000% on their money. That's because this new weapon won't just be adopted by the Navy. It's being adopted by all 4 branches of the military: the Army, the Air Force, the Navy Marines, and the Space Force. Once you see how this new weapon works, you're going to understand why the US is rushing to get as many of these new weapons as possible. But first, it's important for you to know who I am and why I'm so confident about this very unique opportunity. This new weapon is critical critical to making our adversaries see that we're still the biggest and toughest kid in the neighborhood, so to speak. And that means it could actually stop a war from breaking out. That's how powerful it is. I've never been more certain of anything in almost 30 years as a professional investor. So what's this new weapon the military is spending all these billions and billions of dollars on? The strange object in this picture is called a hypersonic missile. Scientists say it's an entirely new type of weapon that is virtually impossible to defend against. That's because these missiles are like right out of a sci-fi movie. Let me explain. You see, right now, it's easy to predict where a missile's gonna land once it's fired. We know it goes from point A to point B. I mean, think about it like hitting a baseball. You go to home plate, you hit a baseball right to center field, and you can see it go right to center field. Because of that, missile defense systems can intercept it once it's in the air. We know where it's going once it's hit. But what makes hypersonic missiles impossible to defend against is they can change direction in mid-flight. I mean, literally, using the baseball analogy, that's like hitting a ball to center field, and instead of going right to the bleachers in center field, it makes a left turn and goes to third base, then it shoots to right field, and then it jumps down to home plate. It can go wherever it wants. You can't shoot down a missile that can zig left or right whenever it wants to. The technology just doesn't exist. If that doesn't make it difficult enough, it also happens to be the fastest weapon on Earth. It can move as fast as 25 times the speed of sound. That's roughly 19,810 miles an hour. That means it can fly from China to San Diego in seconds. So it's the fastest weapon on Earth, and it can move from left to right in the air. It makes it impossible to defend against. A weapon like this would be great. It'd be a fabulous addition to our military. Problem is, we're not the only guys who have this weapon. Our adversaries have already jumped to an early lead. As Asia Times recently reported, China and Russia have taken a lead in this new arms race. The national security implications are clear. As the vice chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said, we don't have any defense against this kind of weapon. The good news is we're finally waking up to this threat. And this year we've started to take action. $37 billion in new spending has just been unlocked to get these and other new weapons. And the ramp up in spending is getting bigger and bigger. Now, if hypersonic missiles were just going to one branch of the military, this would be a great opportunity. General Dynamics investors turned every $1,000 into $115,000 when they started selling their Tomahawk missiles to the Navy. But remember, this opportunity is at least 4 times bigger. It's not about developing a weapon for one branch of the military. We need them for all 4 branches. As national security analyst Amanda Macias recently reported, quote, the Pentagon is trying to do now is equip all 4 branches, the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Air Force with these weapons. We're going to need to build these weapons for everyone. I mean, we have to make sure our Army bases in Japan, South Korea, and Australia have these new weapons. This way they can defend themselves against an attack in case of a Taiwan conflict. We have to make sure our Navy bases in Japan, Guam, Australia, San Diego have these new weapons. So make sure our ships and our subs have them so they can defend themselves. We have to make sure our Air Force bases in Alaska, South Korea, Singapore have these weapons. We're also going to have to retrofit our nuclear missiles with these missiles so that our enemies don't, God forbid, get the advantage of a first strike capability on us. Remember what then Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis said. To win a 21st century war, you need 21st century weapons. And hypersonic missiles are the Pentagon's top 21st century weapon. We're going to put them on every American base, airplane, Navy ship, and tank on Earth. Period. That's why the Wall Street Journal said it was one of the Pentagon's highest priorities. The New York Times said it, hypersonic missiles are a game changer. Forbes said the Pentagon plans a big hypersonic build-out. And as Air Force magazine recently reported, hypersonics are transformational. We are at the beginning of this revolution, and this is just the beginning of what looks to be a very profitable ride for early investors. Because we have to move fast just to catch up to our adversaries. The market for hypersonic missiles is going to grow faster than any military technology in history. That's my prediction. This is
It's
the
scary
first
when you're
weapon in
excited
history
about
that's going to be adopted
things that are gonna kill
in a
people
similar speed to the
and
iPhone.
destroy
And that means incredible
society.
upside. I mean, consider the rewards for investing in a company at the head of such a big megatrend. People who invested $1,000 in Walmart made $3.4 million. People who invested $1,000 in Microsoft made $1.7 million. And folks who bet alongside Jeff Bezos at Amazon turned every $1,000 into $2.4 million. That's the reward facing early investors with hypersonic missiles, which is why business is pouring billions into this radical new technology. It comes down to this. A person only gets one opportunity in life to be able to predict the future with such a high degree of certainty. I mean, we know the Pentagon is going to spend billions of dollars developing these weapons. They're budgeted for it already. And more importantly, we know who they're spending it with. It's just a matter of time before word gets out and Main Street catches on to what's really happening here. By the time that happens, it'll be too late. It's going to be like crypto. One day you never heard of it, the next day everyone's talking about it. In other words, you want to know about it before your neighbor tells you about it. If your neighbor's coming to you talking about this crazy new missile, you're going to be settling for table scraps. It's going to be too late. So the time to take action is now. At the center of all this is the one small company that beat out the biggest defense contractors to win that contract and whose stock at hand investors 35,000% gains. During the almost 30 years I've been doing this, I've earned a reputation for being ahead of the trend. A few recent triple-digit winners include Chemocentrics, which gained 435%, Crystal Biotech, which increased 275%, Scott's Miracle-Gro rose 174%, DraftKings 115%, Magnolia Oil and Gas jumped 159%. But here's the thing, those gains were great. They'll pay for a nice vacation for you and the grandkids. But those types of gains don't compare to what's in front of us right now as the military plans and spends billions of dollars buying this new weapon. While there are going to be a number of ways to profit in the coming years, there's not going to be a window of opportunity like you have before you right now. You see, the dawn of the new age is upon us. This is the very beginning. And a remarkable yet small company is at the forefront. This company is literally at the center of this revolution. And right now, only a handful of the savviest investors even know about it. But good news is that's starting to change. If you were to make only one investment in the next decade, this is it. It doesn't get clearer than that. Let's take another look at General Dynamics. Again, what made General Dynamics such a huge success was its missile program. Remember the first Gulf War? It was their precision-guided missiles that stole the show and changed warfare forever. That's why early investors were able to see a small $1,000 investment turn into $115,000. I am confident the same is about to happen with the company making these hypersonic missiles, but it won't take 30 years. From top to bottom, this is a whole of government approach. They've declared this a top priority. Both houses of Congress voted for it, and the president signed it. It is law. Tens of billions of dollars will be invested to bring these hypersonic missiles into every branch of the military. It's already started. In other words, this is happening with or without you. And that's why investing in the small company that won the contract to build them could mean life-changing profits. Now listen, we're witnessing the launch into an amazing new age of warfare, and frankly challenging, the likes of which the world has never seen before. And this age, this new age, above everything else, is being driven by advances in processing power and speed. Hypersonic missiles will literally change how wars are fought in the future. So to get in on the action, you want to own the company that's been hired by the military to build them. The company at the very forefront of this huge chain. The company that beat out all the other larger companies to win the contract. In the last few months, they've announced one contract with the Army and another one with the Navy to build these weapons. I mean, one after the other. General Dynamics made investors almost 9,000%, in part because the US government spent their money buying Tomahawk missiles. As far as opportunities, we're comparing apples and oranges here. Now, to really give you the edge, I've put all of the details on this company in a special new report called 21st Century Battlefield: 4 Companies Changing Warfare. This groundbreaking new report tells you everything you need to know about this incredible company, giving you the chance to ride this massive trend for 35,000% return. You're going to get the name of the company, the stock symbol, our buy price, and what our target sell price is. But that is just the start. I've added 3 additional 21st century defense contractors to this blockbuster report. It's a 7,000 word report, guys. The second weapon stock pick number 2 that I've added here is a $7 AI stock that targets incoming threats. Now think of it this way. In the battlefield of the future, success is going to come down to how quickly our soldiers detect and target incoming threats like drones and missiles. Our second stock pick is a small software company the Pentagon has hired to do just that, and it's only trading at $7 a share. The third stock pick in this special report is a small laser stock that's going to shoot down incoming threats. Remember, I just told you about an AI stock that's going to help our soldiers identify and target the incoming threats. But in the battlefield of the future, we're also going to need to be able to shoot them down very quickly. A laser is more precise than a bullet and travels 50,000 times faster than an ICBM. And at a cost of only $1 a shot versus $2,000 a shot, you can see why our armed forces are adding them as quickly as possible. Our fourth stock pick is a small cap drone company that's actually going to help us on the counterattacks. Now remember, the $7 AI stock I just mentioned is going to help our soldiers identify and target incoming threats. And the laser stock I'm going to tell you about is going to help our soldiers shoot down those incoming threats. But the fourth stock in our special report helps us hit that. And it does this by supplying our army with drones, and specifically drone swarm. Given how many contracts this small company is winning, there is no doubt in my mind it will not stay a small cap stock much longer. Now I detail each of these 4 stocks, the hypersonic missile stock, the AI stock, the laser stock, and the drone stock in this brand new report, 21st Century Battlefield: 4 Companies Changing Warfare. And the report is yours absolutely free.
I have to be coy, not a paid advertisement, and I don't give financial advice.